Welcome everyone. V group number 1 has crafted this video on introduction to C#. I, Ms. Bhumi Singh, will explain you now about introduction to C#. So hello everyone. Now we are going to learn about C#. So as you can see in the slide, that is introduction to C#. Introduction, that is what does C# basically mean? What is the features of C#? Why it is widely used? So C# is a modern object-oriented and type-safe programming language. C# enable developer to build many type of secure and robust applications that run in .NET. C# has its root in the C family, that is the language. It will get immediately familiar to the languages, that is C, C++, Java and JavaScript programmers. This tour will give an overview that how does a C# language works, what is the features and why it is used. So C# is, as we have said, that C# is an object-oriented, component-oriented programming language. C# provide languages constant to directly support this concept, making C# a natural language in which to create and use software components. Let me introduce you to my team and role played by them. First, Isha and Gayatri will be explaining variables and data type in C#. Secondly, Sarish and Bhumi will be explaining variable operations in C#. Third, Ashwin and Chetan will be explaining type conversion in C#. Fourth, Aniket Bhedse will be explaining conditional logical operators in C#. Then, Dinesh and Sachin will be explaining loop in C#. And last, Tushar and Vipul will be explaining methods in C#.
Myself Gayatri, my roll number is 49. We will start with the topic variables. What are variables? Variables are the names which are given to a particular value. Or in other words, variables are the names we give to a computer's memory location which are used to store values in the computer program. Each variable has a specific type which determines the size and the layout of the variable's memory, the range of values that can be stored in the memory, and a set of operations that have to be can be applied. In C#, there are 5 types of variable. First is the local variable. These variables can be defined in a method or a constructor or a block. These variables are created when the block is entered or the function is called, and destroyed when the variable exits from the block or call returns.
Myself Bhogle. Today my topic is data types. So basically, what are data types? Data types are attributes associated with a piece of data which will tell computer how to interrupt its value. Now we'll see the classification of the data type. Data types are further classified into value types and reference types. Now in value types there are simple, enums and structures. Structures and enums are user-defined data types. And in reference type there are classes, interfaces, delegates and arrays. Now in value types what happens? It stores values directly into the memory. But in reference type it will not store value directly. It will store the address of the value. There are many different types of data types such as integers, floating, character, double, decimal, U-short, U-long and long.
So defining variables, basically a C# variable is defined using a data type. The syntax for a variable declaration is that it will be firstly represented by a data type and then that particular variable name. The definition should be a valid data type that the user defines. That means the variable should have a data type which is of int, which is of float, and various types which are mentioned in the data type. So a data type has to be defined for a variable. So in this way, a variable is being defined. The next
We are going to learn about accepting values from user. As you can see in the slide, in this the console class in the system namespace provide a function called readLine. So now what exactly readLine function is used for? ReadLine function is used for accepting inputs from the user and to store it in a variable. For example, int num. Here we have a variable num which is of integer data type. Num equals to convert.to integer 32 bracket console.readline. What exactly this do? The function convert.to integer 32 will convert the data entered by the user to integer data type because the console read.line will accept the data in string form. We have two type of expression in C#. The first one is L value and the second one is R value. So firstly, we should understand what exactly R value and N value do. R value, L value expression is the value which may appear in either left hand side or right hand side. But in R value, the R value expression, the value will may appear on the right hand side, but it won't be appear on the left hand side. For example, int a equals to 20. Here we take an example of int a equals to 20. As you can see in the slide, that is int a is the left hand side, that is equals to के left वाला part is int a, that is left hand side, and 20 is right hand side.
My name is Iyer and I'm going to explain you about data type conversion in C#. Data type conversion is basically converting one type of data to another type. It is also known as typecasting. In C#, there are mainly two forms of typecasting, that is implicit type conversion and explicit type conversion. Implicit type conversion are performed by C# in type-safe manner. For example, the conversions from smaller data types to larger data types, the conversions from derived class to base class, and many more. The explicit type conversion are done explicitly by user using predefined functions. This conversion requires a cast operator. So I will be explaining you more in detail about implicit type conversion with an example. So it is this conversion basically also known as automatic type conversion, done by the compiler on its own without an external trigger from the user. Generally, it takes place when in an expression more than one data type is present. In such condition, type conversion takes place to avoid loss of data. All the data types of variable are upgraded to the data type of the variable of largest data type. It is possible for implicit conversion to lose information, signs can be lost, and also an overflow can occur. For built-in numeric types, an implicit conversion can be made when the value are to be stored can fit into a variable without an round off. For integral types, this means the range of source type is proper subset of the range of target types. So let us see an example of implicit type conversion. First, we have initialized an int I variable and given a value 100. Then we have made a float and we want to initialize this float variable with the value of int variable. We have given float equals to int, then print the value of float variable. So after executing, int is initialized to value 100 and the value of int is sent to the float, and float value 100 is printed without an explicit conversion. So basically here the conversion is happening from int value to a float value. Implicit conversion is done by compiler when there is no loss of information if the conversion is done, if there is no possibility of throwing exception during the conversion. Converting the int value to float will not lose any data and no exception will be thrown. Hence the implicit conversion can be done.
Hello everyone, I am Yelve. So I will be explaining you all about explicit type conversion. So as given in the above explanation, when we are converting a float into int, we lose the fraction part and also there is a possibility of overflow exception. Hence in this case, an explicit conversion is required. So what is explicit type of conversion? This process is also called as a typecasting and it is user defined. Here, the user can typecast the result to make it of a particular data type. In C#, it can be done by two ways. For explicit conversion, we can use the cast type operator or the convert class in C#. So you guys might have a question arise that why not implicit? So the reason behind this is a float type is higher data type than int. So it will be difficult to convert it because it can cause a loss of information in it and also it can cause of overflow exception. So moving towards the cast type operator, if a conversion cannot be made without a risk of losing information, the compiler requires that you perform an explicit conversion which is called as a cast. In cast type operator, for converting the float data type into integer, we use int type. So by having this example, we have initialized the float variable f by storing a value of 123.45. Then to convert that float value into integer, we have initialized int I and then given an int data type to float variable. So this part which we have used is called as a cast type operator. So the other way to do explicit conversion is convert class. So it is the same thing we have done in a cast type operator. So taking the same example, we have initialized int I using the method convert to int 32. So here the int 32 is the bit size of integer data type and it depends on respective size of data. So by passing a variable f into parameter, we can convert float value into int without any loss of data or having an overflow exception. So this is called as a convert class operator. The main difference between the cast and convert type is that if the float has a greater value stored in the integer, then it will not able to handle such big value in it, as the float data type is a higher data type than integer. So in this case an overflow exception occurs. So in order to avoid this situation, we use convert type operator. So the advantages of data type conversions are, this is done to take advantage of certain features of type hierarchies or type representations. It helps to compute expression containing variables of different data types.
Hello everyone. Topic is conditional logical operator. So in this, the conditional logical operator, also known as short circuiting logical operator, it is a conditional version of Boolean logical operator. It is used to decision making statements. It makes the code shorter and readable. So in next slide is on arithmetic operator and logical operator. Table will show all the arithmetic operator. In this we have addition operator, subtraction operator, multiplication operator, division and increment and decrement operator. These are normal operators. Then we have logical operator. In this we have AND operator. So if both the operands are non-zero, then the condition becomes true, otherwise it is false. Then we have OR operator. If any of two operand is non-zero, then the condition becomes true, otherwise it is false. At last we have NOT operator. It is used to reverse the string of the operands. Then we have relational operator. In this we have equals operator. It checks if the value of two operands are equal or not. If yes, then the condition becomes true, otherwise it's false. Then we have not equals to operator. It checks if the value of two operands are equal or not. If values are not equal, then the condition becomes true, otherwise it is false. Like this we have different operators like greater, less and less than equal to and greater than equal to operator. In next slide we have if statement. The if statement is powerhouse of conditional logic, able to evaluate any combination of condition and deal with the multiple and different piece of data. Here's an example with an if statement that features two else condition. You can see the example. An if blocks can have any number of condition. You test only one single condition. You don't need to include any else block there. Then we have switch statement. Switch statement used to evaluate single or multiple possible values. Limitations are variable should be integer based data type like boolean, char or string, and other data types are not supported. Following code, each case examine the my number variable and test whether it's equal to specific integer. You can see the example.
So yeah, I'm Dinesh. So I will walk you through the loops. Now the first thing is, what is loops? A loop is a basic program construct that repeats a code of fragment repetitively. Based upon the type of loop, we can determine how many times it will execute or till the condition is false. So loops that never end are also called infinite loops. So the first one is while loop. So what is a while loop? A while loop first of all, a boolean expression is calculated, and if it is true, the sequence of the operation in the body loop is executed. Then again, if the input condition is checked, and if it is true again, the body of the loop is executed. All this is repeated again and again until at some point the value is false. At this point the loop stops and comes out of the while structure, then continues the next line of code. So the syntax for while loop is while condition, and inside the curly brackets we have the loop body. So this loop body is the fragment of code that we want to iterate. So let's see an example. Here we have initialized a with value 10, integer a with value 10. Then we are checking while a less than 20. So for now it is true. It will enter inside, and the console.print will be executed where a value is printed on the screen. Then a is incremented. So now the value is 11. Then it is true, less than 20 that is. Then again a value is printed. It keeps on going until the value of a is greater than 20. At that point it will be false and come out of the while loop. Now the next one is the while loop, do while loop. So a do while loop, unlike while loop, is similar to while loop, but it checks the condition after the execution of the code. This type of loop is also called as post text loop. A do while loop syntax looks like this. A do, curly brackets, inside which we have the logic body or the executable code. Outside that we have the condition. So first, as you can see the flow chart, first the loop body is executed, then the condition, if it is true, then the condition will fall back to the loop body and it will execute once more. If it is false, it will skip the loop body and proceed to the next one. So the example for do while loop is, we have again an int variable a with value 10 in inside. Inside the do's, we have the console.line which will print the value of 10, a, which is initially 10. Then it is incremented. Then outside that we have the while condition which will check the value of a which is less than 20. Yes, it is. Then the do while will be executed again.
Now moving on to the next topic, that is for loop. So for loop is the repetition control structure that allows you to efficiently write a loop that needs to execute at a specific number of times. So in a for loop, as you can see, this is the syntax of for loop. Syntax of for loop. In this there are three main parts. First part consists of initialization. In initialization, we declare a loop variable, and it is used to set its initial value. And then comes the condition part. In this condition part, we give a condition to the loop. For example, we can iterate it to number of times, like if we give less than I is less than 10, then it will iterate till 10. Then comes the third part is update. In update will basically it is most of you used to increment the variables. This is the example. So in this example you can see in a for loop we have first initialized a is equal to 10, and then given a condition that a is less than 20. So a is equal to a plus 1. So this will increment a until it gets to 20. So that is done by for loop. And yeah, so this is the output. And next is the loop. In nested loop allows you to use one loop inside another loop. So basically you can use a loop inside a loop, through which you can efficiently do multiple iterations. And this is the so you can see the syntax of it. There is a for loop inside a for loop, and this is the example of nested loop. In this you can see first for loop. In the first for loop we have assigned initialized I is equals to 2 and I less than 100, and I will increment. In that for loop we have given another for loop where j is equals to 2 uh, until j is less than equal to I. So this will go on until the first the j for loop will run until the condition is true. Then the I for loop will be running until it's true. So this is the output.
Okay, so now moving on to our last topic, which is methods in C sharp. So methods are generally the block of codes or statements in a program that gives the user to ability to reuse the same code, which eventually saves the excessive use of memory and acts as a time saver. So basically, a method is a collection of statements that performs some specific task and returns the result to the caller of the method. A method can also perform some specific task without returning anything. Now we will see how to define a method in C sharp. So first we have to define the access modifier. So it defines the access type of the method, that is from where it can be accessed in your application or program. In C sharp there are public, protected, private access modifiers. Next we have the name of the method, which describes the name of the user defined method by which the user calls it or refers to it while executing the program. Next, we have the return type, which defines the data type to be returned by the method. It depends upon the user, as it may also return void, that is, it may return nothing. Uh, the body of the method refers to the line of the code to be executed by the program. It is enclosed between the parentheses. And next we have the parameter list, which is a comma separated list in which the input parameters are defined along with their data type within the enclosed parentheses. If there are no parameters, then the empty parenthesis must be used. So here is an example of how we should define a method in C sharp. So here, as you can see, we have a method named findMax, and it has the access modifier as public, and its return type is integer data type, and it has two parameters which is separated by a comma. Then it has a body which is enclosed between the parentheses, and this contains the logic of the program. So this is how we define a method in C sharp.
Okay, so now methods. As you have seen, a method contains a number of statements to perform a particular task. A method can have number of statements inside it. In C sharp, every program have method name main. Main method is the starting point of the program. First we define the method and then we make a call to use it. For calling the method, you can call a method using name of the method. The following example illustrates this. The first example is given here that two integers num1 and num2 assigned with the value of a as 100 and b as 200, and after calling the findMax function, the maximum values between these two integers has been printed, that is 200. Okay. So next is recursive method call. Recursion is the concept in which method call itself. Every recursive method needs to be terminated, therefore we need to write a condition in which we check the termination condition satisfied. If we don't do that, a recursive method will end up calling itself endlessly. So for recursion, here is the example given of finding the factorial of these three numbers, which will print the factorial of 6, 7 and 8 respectively. Next is passing parameters to a function. Passing a parameter are of three types: value parameter, reference parameter and output parameter. So first, value parameter. This method copies the actual value of an argument into the formal parameter of the function. In this case, changes made to the parameter inside the function have no effect on the arguments. A new storage location is created for every value parameter. This is the default approach to pass the parameter to the method. When a value type variable is passed to the method, it means that we are passing a copy of just variable to that method. Next is reference parameter. Unlike value type, no new storage location is created. This method copies the reference of the memory location of an argument into the formal parameter.
Basically, ref keyword is used to declare reference type variable on method. It also required while making a call to a method. Out keyword is used to declare out type parameter on the method. It also requires while calling a method to the function. This similar to reference type except that multiple values are written from the method.
Thank you everyone for watching our video. If you like our video, so please like, share and comment.